Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this mini lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you a really cute sounding etude that helps you work on double stops. So double stops is just fancy terminology that means you are playing two notes at once. So if you have been primarily playing single note melodies, this is going to be a great piece for you. It's going to be a really good challenge because you have to do, well, twice the work, right? Now, what's cool about this piece too is that you're not just plucking two notes at once. Later on in the tune, you're actually going to be strumming two notes at once. So you get to work on the best of both worlds, finger picking and strumming in this tune. Now, I also want to cover something that I think a lot of us are going to pick up on after listening to this performance, and that is the fact that it sounds a little bit like Bill Withers' tune, Lean on Me, and you are correct if you caught that. So this is very much a in the style of type of lesson. In other words, when I wrote this, I wanted to write something that was inspired by that tune. And so the same kind of rhythmic themes and movement that you hear at the start of that iconic intro for Lean on Me is found in this piece of music. So if you're a fan of that tune, I think you will enjoy learning this piece as well. All right, guys, so let's take a step back now. Let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire piece. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for ML013. That's the lesson number for this lesson. Now, also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. This is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this, and I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello, my name is Matt Dahlberg, and in today's lesson, we're going to be working on mini lesson 13, double stops. This is all about thirds, and it's a lot of fun to play, so let's go ahead and dive into melody A. We're going to start here by playing just the open C and open E strings together. I like to use 4-finger picking for this, which means I kind of station 1 finger per string. You can also use 3-finger or whatever you're comfortable with. But for the duration of teaching this, you'll notice I will always kind of have thumb on G, index here on C, middle here on E, and ring here on A for the finger picking parts. I'll start by playing the C and E together. And that's all of the first measure, which is only 2 beats long. So in time, that's something like this. 1 and 2 and... Really straightforward. Going on to measure 2, which really is the first measure of the song. It's going to be open on that C and E. Then I'm going to play 2 on the C and 1 on the E, taking my middle finger, placing it here on the 2nd fret of the C string, my index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string. I'm going to pluck those 2 together. And then I'm going to take that and move it up 2 frets, so it's the same set of 2 fingers. Now at 4 and 3, pluck those 2 together. Then I'm going to move up one more time. I'm going to take the middle finger, move it up to the 5th fret, take the index off, turn the hand so that the fingers kind of angle towards the shoulder that you play with, and then use your ring finger to go here on the 5th fret of the E string, pluck those 2 together. After doing this, I'm then going to mute the strings and strike going down, which just sounds like this. So you just take your fretting hand and you lightly touch the strings and strike them. So that measure 2 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into the third measure here, we're going to be playing 5 on the C and E, which is what we just did a moment ago. Slide it up 2 frets to 7. Slide it back down to 5. And then slide it back down to the 4 and the 3. So you see my hand sort of turns to be more straight up and down. Middle finger is there on the 4th fret of the C string. Index finger is here on the 3rd fret of the E, just like we did in the first measure. And then I'm going to do a muted strum. So that in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And so that you can hear it, here are measures 1, 2, and 3, because measure 1's kind of that pickup bar type of sound. So it's really, this gives you a good sense of what this is going to sound like. So it should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. From here we go on to measure 4. It's more of the same little groupings of these double stops. We're going to start with the 4 and the 3, go up to the 5 and the 5, so pivot. Again, more straight up and down with the ones that are offset like this. The ones that are parallel, you'll see that I turn my fingers so that the fingernails are kind of pointed towards the shoulder over here. So I've got the 5 and 5 with the middle and ring. Go back down to the 4 and 3. Now go back down to the first one you did of the 2 and 1. And then a muted. So measure 4, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 5, to end this melody A section, we're going to go up to the 5, 5, so middle and ring fingers there. Go down to the 4 and 3, pivot. 2 and 1, slide down. And open. Same thing we started with, followed by a mute going down. So measure 5 in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measure 4 and 5 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so that you can hear it, here's all of melody A. It should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. From here we go on to melody B, and what's nice about this is melody B is more of the same stuff with just a little bit extra added. What we're going to add here is at the end of the bar, so we're going to start by playing the same first part that we did in measure 2. The same 0, 0, 2, 1, 4, 3, 5, 5, exactly the same there. But then instead of just doing the muted strum there like we did before, we're going to pluck the C string here at the 5th fret. And then we're going to pluck the A string here at the 3rd fret with the index finger. So 5th fret on the C string with the middle finger, 3rd fret on the A string now with the index finger. And then 5th fret on the E there with the ring. So we keep that same shape we did before. We're just adding this index finger here to the 3rd fret of the A string. And so that in time is going to sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 7 now, we're going to do the same start we did when we played measure 3. So that's the 5, 5 to 7, 7, back down to the 5, 5 to the 4, 3. But now we're going to play 4 on the C, and then 5 on the A, taking that ring finger, adding it here on the 3rd fret of the A string, and then the 3 on the E, which is already there. So instead of it just being the 4 and 3, it's the 4, 3, and 5 on the A with the ring. In time, measure 7 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so that you can hear the pair of these together, here is measures 6 and 7. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 8, much of the same. Same thing we did on measure 4, so that's 4 and 3 to 5 and 5, back down to 4 and 3 to 2 and 1. But again, we're going to do a little picking here, just like we did on measure 6 and 7. We're going to pluck the C string, then the 3rd fret on the A string, just add your ring finger there to that 3rd fret, pluck it, and then 1 on the E, which is already there. So in time, measure 8, something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 9 now, same start as what we did on measure 5. So that's the 5, 5, the 4, 3, the 2, 1, and the 0, 0. And then it's going to play open on the G, and then 3 on the A. So measure 9 in time is going to sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Measures 8 and 9 together should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And all of melody B, so measures 6 through 9, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on now to melody C. It's going to be, again, more of the same. We're going to start with the same little riff. So the same thing we did at the start of melody A and at melody B. But now the little filler that's going to be done here is strumming. And the way that we're going to do this is we're playing this 5-5-0-5-5-0 now. And we're going to go up, down, down, up. What that is the timing and 4 and so it's some double time strumming in there. It's really hard when you're playing it slow to get the right feel of this. So as I play at full speed, you can really start to get a feel for how this whole thing sounds. Go back and watch the performance video too if you want to get that feel for double time. But basically you need to get comfortable going as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, as well as 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, and that's what makes this challenging. So measure 10 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into measure 11. This is totally different than anything we've done. We're now going to go down on this 0-5-5-0, up on 0-7-7-0, so slide these two fingers up, down on 0-9-8-0, so take your middle finger, slide it up 2 frets, add the index here on 8 of the E, removing the ring, do a down strum, and then come up on this 0-11-10-0, and then we're going to miss going down, and then we're going to come up and then down, down, up with the double time strum at the very end. So measure 11 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the two measures together, 10 and 11, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. A quick tip is you hear at the end of measure 10 into 11 doing the. It sounds much more natural to do these double time fills at the end of a measure going into the next measure. So I strongly recommend when you're practicing this, instead of just working on the way we were working on in this lesson of measure by measure, work into the first beat of the next measure. So for instance, when you play measure 11, when it goes with the, go right into measure 12, which we're starting now, is going to be this same chord, because that allows you to really get a good feel for what this is going to sound like. But anyways, measure 12 is a down here on 0-11-10-0, same chord. Then we're going to come up on 0-12-12-0 to do this. Slide the middle finger up to 12 on the C, add the ring finger here to 12 on the E. And then move up for the down strum. Middle finger goes up to fret 14 and index finger to fret 13 on the E, way up there on the ukulele. You'll notice that I kind of have to make room for the body, and that's okay. Make sure you're really good angle here. We're going to do a down strum on this, and then we're going to come back up on the 0-12-12-0 with the middle and ring finger. Then to finish this measure, it's going to hold this chord, go up, down, down, up with a little double time fill at the end. Oof, it's a big one, right? But it should sound something like this when you play it in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 13, hold this 0-12-12-0, down strum, come up on 0-11-10-0, same way we played it before. Go down on 0-9-8-0, slide those two fingers down just like we did before. And then we're going to come up on 0-7-7-0. And you see when I do that, I'm just pivoting back to the middle and ring finger, same way we played it when we did it earlier. So after I've done that up, I'm going to go to some picking. I'm going to play 5 on the A with my index finger here. and then I'm going to play 7 on the A with my pinky finger here. And then the last part of this measure is I slide down 2 frets to 5 on the C and the E, and I do an up strum. Whew, quite a monster, right? But let's go ahead and hear what measure 13 sounds like in time. Should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the pair together, measures 12 and 13, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Whew. Now from here we go on to measure 14, excuse me. We're still holding this. We're going to play 3 on the A with the index finger, then pinky here on 5 of the A. Then a down strum on an E minor chord, nice and basic. Ring finger here on the 4th fret of the C string, middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, and index finger here on the 2nd fret of the A string. Strum through all 4. Play open on the A, 3 on the E, and then switch to an F chord. Index finger here on 1 of the E, middle finger here on 2 of the G. So in time, that measure 14 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into measure 15 now, really easy. We're going to play open on the E, 2 on the C, and the G and C together. So in time, measure 15 should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And measures 14 and 15 should sound something like this for context. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And here is the entirety of melody C with all the double time strumming fanciness. Should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Let's go ahead and go on now to melody A again, which is really the D section. So this is kind of cool. It's just combining some things that we've done. Measure 16, exactly the same as measure 2. And then measure 17 is exactly the same as measure 3. So let's hear those two together. Should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going on to measure 18, we're going to play the same start that we did on measure 4, but then what we're going to do is a little bit of double time. We're going to do a muted, just like we did on measure 4, but then we're going to play 0, 5, 5, 0 and go down up for the double time. So measure 18 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And when you're doing this, we want to do a little bit of a retard here, which means we're going to slow down. So that double time is still double time, but we're slowing down, especially as we go now into measure 19. We're going to do a down strum on 0, 5, 5, 0, then an up on 0, 4, 3, 0, so same stuff we've been playing, then a down on 0, 2, 1, 0, slide it down, and an up on all open, followed by plucking the G, and then the E and the A together. So measure 19 in time with the retard sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And what's a really nice sequence here is measure 18 and 19 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And so that you can hear it, here is all of D, which is the melody A kind of repeated. Should be something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And there you have it, bringing the camera right back up. So this is a really fun one to play. It's kind of tricky, some of the rhythms, and it's okay when you're practicing it to kind of break it into musical chunks. What I mean by that is it's really tempting to work bar by bar, especially because that's how we teach it in these videos. But it's okay to kind of section them a little bit. For instance, with the double time strumming, I think it's really beneficial to strum the very first beat of the next bar so that you hear how the double time goes into the next bar. For instance, the end of measure 10 into 11, when you're doing like... that just sounds so much more natural doing essentially the and 4 and a 1 instead of going and 4 and a and then just stopping, right? But that's just a little tip for how I learned these double time rhythms and get more comfortable with them. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll look forward to seeing you all for the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, so this mini lesson was a ton of fun. This is one of those just feel-good kind of tunes, and I think it's because it was inspired by one of the happiest songs, Lean on Me by Bill Withers. So it's just a lot of fun to play. Plus, it's a really good introduction to working on those double stops, right? Playing two notes at once, and the fact that we're not only plucking double stops, we also get to strum them as well. So we get to work on the best of both worlds in this piece. So guys, I wanted to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for ML013. That was the lesson number for this lesson. Don't forget to, on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.